this first video for this online lesson, we're going to be taking a quick overview of some of the reasons why governments decide to intervene when there's market failure. This is all going to be leading up to the main topic of indirect taxation. So, what's the purpose of government intervention? For the purposes of your microeconomics, we're really thinking in this first instance about correcting market failure. So correcting issues such as negative production externalities, demerit goods, goods where there are information gaps associated with them, that kind of thing. As you move through your A-level economics course, you'll also start to apply this concept to things such as improving economic efficiency, looking at how you can use government intervention to improve macro performance and or change the distribution of income and wealth. It's worth bearing in mind that we increasingly look a little bit less at things like taxation and subsidies, maximum minimum prices, some of those classic approaches, and starting to think a little bit more about behavioural nudges to change the behaviour of consumers and businesses. But for the purpose of this lesson, we're focusing really on indirect tax, but we're going to start with a little bit of a thinking activity, looking at the different methods of government intervention that can be used to tackle market failure. So what I'd like you to think about is your parents or guardians or whichever grown-up at home is responsible for you. And really, that person at home is a bit like the government for you. Parents are a bit like a government for their children. And typically they have to come up with a range of approaches for managing their children's behaviour. I am sure lots of you have experienced the different approaches over your life. And you'll probably have some pretty strong views on which ones are more effective than others. But I want you to switch places now and put yourself in the shoes of that parent. So, behaviour that parents might want to manage, for example, could include stopping their children from smoking or taking drugs, limiting their screen time, helping with chores around the home. I've just put a little selection there of things that those typical day-to-day household jobs, getting enough exercise. I'm sure you could think of many more. Now, different methods that parents can use could be, for example, setting you some rules, giving you information, playing around with money and financial incentives by, for example, withholding allowances or increasing allowances, grounding you, confiscating your items. Now, for each of the behaviours that I've listed there, those 4 behaviours at the top, I'd like you to just take a few moments to think about the most appropriate parental solution. And do make sure that you jot down on your bit of paper some justification for your choices. It might be worth just pausing the video at this point while you have a go at that thinking activity. Okay, now hopefully you've come up with a few ideas. If you are in a position to share your ideas and answers with other students in your class, then I suspect you would find that you have some different perspectives on that, some different views. But what you hopefully noticed is that actually what tends to be more effective than just one intervention alone is perhaps a variety of interventions. And interventions might work for some people, some children, but not all. So that raises a really important point that you need to think about in your economics going forward, is that policy solutions and interventions really need to be considered on a case-by-case basis.